So I decided to do a game jam, which is a game development challenge in which you try to make a game within a limited amount of time. Normally this is like, a week, maybe like a day or two at the very least, and it's very challenging even with that amount of time. But this game jam that I just did was a little bit different. You get 3 hours. Now that sounds pretty difficult. I mean, most of the games I've made for this channel have taken like a week or two to make. So 3 hours is insane, but I'm like pretty comfortable with Godot, and like that's my engine of choice and I know how to use it. So naturally for this game jam, I decided to learn a new engine entirely for a very restricted time limit, which was just a great idea. So this engine that I decided to learn is Pico 8, which is basically like a fake retro game console that you can like make games for, and they're all like publicly available. And I decided this would be a very like fun thing to learn just like on the side, and I decided to do this game jam for it. I don't know what possessed me to do that, but going into this, I need to learn the engine a little bit. So I made Flappy Bird. It's Flappy Bird. It didn't really take that long, more than 3 hours, mind you. All right, and it's the only thing I did in this engine. So I'm not going in with a whole lot of experience, so we'll just see what I come up with. Okay, so the jam's theme is Conductor, and my idea for it is that we're going to take like Space Invaders, right? And we're, instead of playing as like a little spaceship, you're gonna be a magnet. All right, stay with me here. All right, and then the enemies are gonna be little protons and little electrons, and then the magnet is going to shoot out like the opposite, depending on what button you press, and you have to use like the positive ones to take out the negatives, and the negatives take out the positives, because I'm going like conductor, like conducting electricity. This is not how any of this actually works, and hopefully later future me will just figure out how to make this make like any more sense, but this is the idea for now. Will I be able to make this within 3 hours? Who knows? All right, I've only made Flappy Bird so far, but again, you know what, that's a going future into me problem. Just development here, I split it up into like each hour I get a like specific amount of stuff done, having a goal in mind and knowing like what I need, and then do like a little check-in. So over the course of hour 1, I just focused on getting like the very basic mechanics like functional. So player movement, being able to shoot the positive and negative projectiles from the player, and then also having very basic enemy spawns for the positive and negative, and then just like basic like scorekeeping. Again, literally the bare minimum to have like a working prototype here. All right, so I just hit pause here. I'm not gonna touch it. We are about an hour-ish in, and I think generally it's going pretty well. I'm already 117 lines of code. Oh my god, that's the Master Chief number. Look at that. And the core gameplay, it's here. It's like, I got this done a lot quicker than I was expecting to. I'm just gonna quickly run it real quick. And as you can see, we've got like the spawning. They should be removing score, but since we're at 0, it's capped. So I'm gonna shoot a proton at the electrons, and that gains score. When the targets hit the ground or like just go off screen, you lose score because you're not hitting them properly. And then also if you hit 2 like charges, you'll lose score as well. And that's just all working. I want to maybe implement some kind of like live system, so instead of like when they go off screen it removing score, it should like take away like from like a health bar. So then there's like a way for the game to end. A high score system is going to be very simple to implement with this, and I do want to get maybe better spawn mechanics in, of like the longer the game goes on, the like shorter the spawn timer, or like more spawn maybe, or like maybe they even fall faster. And that should be pretty simple with my implementation here. Gonna back into the code. It's a bit messy. It's like this. There's just a lot of like nested if statements and like a for loop, and there are no comments because I am on a very strict timer here. So like that all, I definitely could be doing better, but given the circumstances, a little understandable. And yeah, I mean, other than that, not much else to add. Can't wait to see what I add in hour 2. After adding like the basic gameplay, I need to get the like actual game loop working better. So I needed to add things like, like a game over screen. and like a live system so that the game can like properly end, and then like making sure I can reset all of like the relevant values, you know, like the score and like how many targets have been destroyed, and then adding things like, you know, increasing difficulty over time so that the game like becomes more engaging. Systems like for that where like the more targets you destroy, the faster they spawn in, and you know, just other stuff. Lives, like I said, were like a pretty big thing I needed to get done, and just kind of polishing, but like not like too much, just to get like a better game loop. And you know, let's just finish the time lapse and see how I did with that. Okay, so hour 2 is pretty much done there. I gotta pause, you know, do this little quick update. There was a lot that got added. Let's just hop into a playtest. So now in the top left, you can see we have little hearts, and that's now the new health bar system. Each time one of these little enemies here, you know, gets to the end of the level, you'll lose a heart. And you know, that all makes sense. I have this new game over screen for when you lose all your hearts. It'll tell you what your score was, and then what your total high score was. This saves, like there's a save data like thing for this. Not the most important thing, but this was kind of just about balancing. As I can demonstrate in a moment here, the enemies will spawn faster and will fall faster as time goes on, which adds a lot more like depth to the gameplay, and it adds like adaptive difficulty, which it was kind of needing before. It didn't really have much in hour 1. It was 1 hour. Yeah, and as you can see, they're like falling faster, and it does get a little crazy near the end. I did have to like clamp the area in which they can spawn because it was just a bit too much. I added a bit of a background here. I don't even know what it really is. It's there. Not much else to add. Yeah, and then you can just, you know, restart the gameplay loop from this game over screen. It all works pretty well. Didn't add like that much in terms of like lines of code, but it was just a lot of like editing what was already there and like changing some stuff. And I mean, yeah, that's about it for what I added. Moving into hour 3, I mean, like the gameplay loop is there. I think I just need to add like some like juice to it, you know, like maybe adding like a little like indicator of like, oh, you gained a point or you lost a point, for like when you hit an enemy with like the corresponding attack, or like when you've lost a life, you know, that kind of stuff. And then you know, sound effects, maybe some music as well. I don't know if I'm gonna get to music. I really don't know how the Pico 8 music system works, and yeah, I don't think, you know, however like much left of the hour is going to be very useful to me. But I mean, going into hour 3, it's kind of just polished. Like the game's already here, and I'm pretty proud of that. I'm making like good use of the time I have. Hour 2, I felt like a bit not as confident because I spent like a good amount of time just playtesting and balancing, but looking back, I think I added very important things, and I'm proud of that. And you know, let's just finish it out. Finally, for hour 3, I honestly didn't feel that much like time pressure, because in the first 2 hours I really got like the meat and potatoes of the gameplay out of the way. So really this was just like all like the stuff that's nice, but it's more like polish. So adding sound effects, redoing pieces of art, maybe like score indicators, just things that, well, not necessary, definitely do help the game experience, and like trying to just like get it to be more fun without necessarily changing the actual core gameplay. So I'm just gonna let the time lapse finish up here, and then we can get into, you know, what exactly I added and how I feel about it. That is time. The game is done. So let's just check in on what I did in the final hour, and you know, just some like overall thoughts, I guess. So I added this title screen, which you know, gives like a brief overview of the controls, just to, you know, make this, you know, a bit playable. I also added some sound effects here, which, you know, just kind of add a bit of extra, you know, information. I'm just gonna shut that off real quick. Anyways, I also added these little point counters for when you earn score or lose it, which is just important for player feedback. I updated how scores are calculated, so instead of like 1 score per, Now it's 100 per hit, and then you lose 50. Didn't get around to adding music. I kind of wanted to, but it was just a bit unrealistic. Kind of just moved around some stuff in the menus. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, I mean, that's about it. I changed the health bar to have a blue heart in it, just to kind of like go with the theme of the game. Thought it was a bit cute. The art got a bit of a like makeover. Like there's some added level tiles and you know, the projectiles, the magnet, and the targets kind of got like a bit of a, you know, new coat of paint to make them look a bit nicer, a bit more presentable. And I mean, yeah, that's about it. This is mostly just kind of polishing up what was here and like putting it into like a fully playable game. And I'm quite proud of how this turned out for how little time I was able to work on it. You know, this is like a fully working, endless sort of shooter game. And, you know, for being in 3 hours in an engine I'm not very familiar with, I am proud of what I was able to get done. I mean, yeah, that's all about my thoughts coming off of it just right after finishing. I'll probably get into some more stuff right now. Overall, the game is pretty decent, especially considering that it was made in such a short time span and I didn't really understand the engine that much. It's pretty good. If you want to play it, it's just free. Links in the description below. If you at all enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe. It would really help with the channel. I've got nothing else to add. See ya.